song, All Things is Well with Me. And just a few songs before that, we were just declaring how great Thou art. And really and truly, our God is magnificent. And sometimes we just have to pause and reflect. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how challenging it is, we simply have to pause and say, Thou art so great. God, you are so great. And I'm truly overwhelmed by your goodness towards me. Well, it's 6 minutes before the hour of 10 a.m. I have my first guest in studio for today. She's a work colleague. She is a lovely person. She's beautifully crazy. I can say that. I say good morning to Glenda King.
Good morning, Barbados. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's indeed an honor to grace in Gil's presence this morning, glorifying the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
That's right. And Glenda. We're going to start our chat 5 minutes before 10, and then we'll come back on the other side of the hour just to complete it. She's all dressed, looking fabulous. And
thank you.
She has some moves to make today, but I'm really glad to have her in. You've been hearing her music right here on MBG Radio, and she brought out one this year, and she's in the calypso genre, but a powerful social commentary song that I believe continues to speak volumes, and is so good when our Christian artists can explore the various genres that are wholesome enough to carry the message without it being questionable. She's laughing at me already. Glenda.
Yes, please.
You are into music. What got you into the gospel, the calypso genre?
I first want to say calypso was never my first genre. I want to say that
Really?
This is just God. I love ballads, more like the ballad side, the softer side, that type of music. Reggae was my choice, but calypso was pure accident, for sure.
Wow. If that was an accident, I don't know.
I can tell you, me coming into this type of genre it is God. Sometimes I don't even know how to explain it, other than the church I was going to before. They have something called summer church, and in summer church you have to come up with an original song, and one of the genres they would use would be calypso, and we were divided into these groups, and in these groups we had colors, and then there's a drama and a song, and I was nominated in the group to write the song, because when I got saved in 2005, writing lyrics was just like me walking. It became like it's so easy for me to sit and pen something, and that is a natural gift that I have. I can sit, you can give me a topic and I can just flow. With the grace of God, obviously, God just pours. So He pours. There's lyrics, and there is melody to go with it. So He just does that beautifully through me. And for this particular song, the first song that I did last year was "Heal Your Land."
We have that too.
That was a word for
just letting you know we have that as well.
Yes, that was a word for the nation, and that song was brought on. I missed the deadline for summer church. And Romar Paris, who works with Green Shanty Productions, who does all of my music, by the way, I said, Romar, I missed the deadline and I'm no longer doing the song. And he said, you have to be crazy. How could you sit with all this talent and just sit on it? And just sit on it. You're too talented, to keep this under a carpet. And that blew my mind, because Romar isn't saved, or wasn't saved at the time. He goes to church, but for me, he wasn't a full-blown Christian. So for him to even see that, was mind-boggling for me. And he said to me, he called me one day and said, listen to me, you're coming to the studio, don't worry about finances. You're coming to the studio. I've already booked you.
Wow.
When you leave work this evening, this is where you're coming.
Wow.
And as people would say, it's history. I did the first song, Heal Your Land, was very successful with it. You know, it was a time, there was a time, that was the time for it. The nation needed healing. God put out a word. I delivered the word. And this year is we taking it back. So you heal your land, you're taking it back. You know, God is strategic. And he has been good. And let's see where this goes.
She just said a mouthful in just a few minutes. My goodness. She is a lyricist, as she said. We're going to take in the top of our hour, and then we'll come right back and chat a little bit more with Glenda, and of course share some of her music. So keep it locked right here, 104.7 FM. This is Nothing But God Radio, and I'm chatting with Glenda King. 10 a.m. Let me say a blessed good morning as we welcome our international audience through the Gospel Vibes Network channel. Good morning, Pastor Delroy Lingo. I always call him Dr. Delroy. I don't know. I'm just putting that out right there, just like that. But I say a blessed good morning to you and our 13 stations connected as we form the mighty Gospel Vibes Network of stations, taking this sound and the message of the kingdom around the world. I have in studio with me, as we started on the other side of the hour, my good friend Glenda King. She's here, she's enjoying herself, and we're going to take in some of her music so that you would hear what we're talking about and what she is singing about. We're going to take in this one, We're Taking It Back. Okay, yeah, hold on.
For too long, we've been sitting down. How long am I gonna make to run this song? But today the world won't see the real in me. 'Cause I've taken back all the enemy has stolen from me. We taking it back. Our families, we taking them back. Our education, we taking them back. Religion and government, we taking them back, back.
Glenda, my goodness. As you were talking earlier, you mentioned earlier, as you started to write, God just poured these lyrics out. Take us into it a little bit more in terms of these verses. As you are writing, you are hearing this message, you are writing, and then it's not just writing, it's putting the melody, and then it is delivering this message in music. Tell us about the journey.
Well, let me start on a personal level first. I had a series of loss in terms of my house being broken into, my finances being attacked. I felt at one point in time, like, okay, I'm serving the Lord, and everywhere I turn, I almost feel like I'm butting a wall and nothing is happening for me.
Okay, wait. So you are writing this going through loss.
Going through loss.
A series of loss.
A series of loss.
And you said it was your
finances. It was house being broken into, so everything stolen, money, jewelry, your clothing, everything being attacked, relationships. I mean, it came from a place of drought. That song came from a place of drought, and not on a personal level, and on a national level, looking to see how the morale of the world is going in terms of the culture, media. The content is so lewd, government, there's so much hypocrisy, there's religion, there's so much double-mindedness. God was just saying, you know what, we need to take it back. And as believers, we're sitting and we're watching all of this happening. And even although we have personal stuff going on in our lives, you know, God, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness shall be added to you. So even in the midst of going through all of those things, you know, God said, this still has to be done. This still has to be spoken of. And one of the things that God has called me to be is truthful. And that scares me sometimes, because sometimes you have to speak about unpopular topics. You have to go where it's unpopular, but you still have to deliver what God is saying to deliver. And that's scary for me sometimes. It's really scary because it's not easy being transparent. It's not even easily going against what the norm is, because the norm is to just fit in, hide like a comedian, you know, get along for your time that you're anywhere, you know, and just go about your life easy. But when God tells you, you know, this is what I want you to do. And I struggle with the mandate that is on my life. I struggle with that for long. I still struggle with it. When God tells you to do something, just be obedient and watch it materialize, watch it flow, watch what happens. And even in the midst of loss, you know, God can restore. So I know that I have to deliver, and I know that God has more inside for me to deliver to not only Barbados but to the world, to the nations. And that, I believe very strongly, is where he's taking this ministry, the music. And you asked me before how I got into it, and I said God and God and God alone.
Yeah, wow. We're talking to Glenda King. In case you've just locked on to 104.7 FM, we don't just play. Glenda, my goodness. As you were talking earlier, you mentioned earlier, as you started to write, God just poured these lyrics out. Take us into it a little bit more in terms of these verses. As you are writing, you are hearing this message, you are writing, and then it's not just writing, it's putting the melody, and then it is delivering this message in music. Tell us about the journey.
Well, let me start on a personal level first. I had a series of loss in terms of my house being broken into, my finances being attacked. I felt at one point in time, you know, like, okay, I'm serving the Lord, you know, and everywhere I turn, I almost feel like I'm butting a wall and nothing is happening for me.
Okay, wait. So you are writing this going through loss.
Going through loss.
A series of loss.
A series of loss.
And you said it was your
finances. It was house being broken into, so everything stolen, you know, money, jewelry, your clothing, everything being attacked, relationships. I mean, it came from a place of drought. That song came from a place of drought, and not on a personal level, and on a national level, looking to see how the morale of the world is going in terms of the culture, media. The content is so lewd, you know, government, there's so much hypocrisy, there's religion, there's so much double-mindedness. God was just saying, you know what, we need to take it back. And as believers, we're sitting and we're watching all of this happening. And even although we have personal stuff going on in our lives, you know, God, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness shall be added to you. So even in the midst of going through all of those things, you know, God said, this still has to be done. This still has to be spoken of. And one of the things that God has called me to be is truthful. And that scares me sometimes, because sometimes you have to speak about unpopular topics. You have to go where it's unpopular, but you still have to deliver what God is saying to deliver. And that's scary for me sometimes. It's really scary because it's not easy being transparent. It's not even easily going against what the norm is, because the norm is to just fit in, hide like a comedian, you know, get along for your time that you're anywhere, you know, and just go about your life easy. But when God tells you, you know, this is what I want you to do. And I struggle with the mandate that is on my life, I struggled with that for long. I still struggle with it. When God tells you to do something, just be obedient and watch it materialize, watch it flow, watch what happens. And even in the midst of loss, God can restore. So I know that I have to deliver, and I know that God has more inside for me to deliver to not only Barbados but to the world, to the nations. And that, I believe very strongly, is where He's taking this ministry, the music. And you asked me before how I got into it, and I said God and God and God alone.
Yeah, wow. We're talking to Glenn the King. In case you've just locked on to 104.7 FM, we don't just play the music. Now, I had no idea that it was rooted so deeply in yourself and your testimony, because I heard it as, yes, it is a message for a nation, in terms of God saying you need to start to take back some stuff. But now you exposed how deep it really is for you, and the message behind it. Well, I am happy that at MBG Radio we are able to start you off on an international, in an international arena. 13 stations. We are about probably the 14th station in the network, and we are spanning literally around the world. Some of our affiliates, they hit right into Africa. So that is where God has just set you up big time, my sister, big time for it. Where do you want to, where do you see the little that God has given you, the glimpse He's given you, where do you see you go with reference to the music? Where next for you, or what next for you?
What next for me? The next step is really how it's going to be guided by God. The glimpse that God has shown me is so scary in terms of where He's going to take it. I don't even believe that it can. Sometimes I and I'm going to be transparent here. Sometimes I don't believe that I have the ability to even do it. Right. When I get before an audience, sometimes knowing that even going there is so scary. But when I get on stage or I get on the mic, God takes over. He takes complete control. Sometimes I don't even know what I've said. He speaks through me, and He speaks through me. And He comforts me even in the midst of sitting in all my butterfly moments and all the fear and all that. And He literally takes over. And for me, that is scary. I see the music going beyond Barbados because He's speaking more than just here in Barbados. And I know that it has been a blessing. The music is mind changing, because you first have to change your mind. It starts in the mind, and when you believe and know who you are as a person, because if you see the young ladies today, that scares me in terms of the morals and what they stand for and what they do, their clothing, what they wear. I mean, we have to take a grip on that. So we're taking back everything. We're taking back the morale of the country. We're taking back the morale of the household. We're taking back several different things that have gone astray, contrary to what the Word of God is saying. And still, people talk about God. They don't know if God is real. I would rather believe in God than get up one day and not know if He is, and people talk about God is so real. If you can see Him in people, you can see Him in your day-to-day life if you just release and trust Him. And I've seen the hand of God over my life many times, even when sometimes I myself doubt, because I wouldn't sit here and tell you that I don't doubt. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that sometimes I don't get up and my faith is smaller than the mustard seed. I would never say that. There are times when I have to beat my mind and my body into the subjection, into belief God, the promises that God has over your life. We have to do that on a daily basis. We have to kill the flesh. And I have to kill my flesh daily. Kill it, and say, listen to me. God is in control. God is in charge, and you need to let Him guide.
You should see this woman deliver on stage. My goodness. It is powerful. It is a powerful, and when it comes to the arts, Glenda is, she is so passionate about it, and she tries to deliver each time in excellence. Glenn, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for being an inspiration this Saturday morning to our listeners, not just here in Barbados, but literally around the world. And we want to say blessings on you. God strengthen you. God keep you. And as he continues to pour into you, to pour out of you, that you will be that vessel. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Where are you off to now this beautiful Saturday morning? She's all dressed up. She also makes jewelry.
And I'm wearing a piece right now.
And she's wearing a piece. I'm here looking at it. It's unusual. I'm here looking and eyeing it and eyeing it. But where to now?
I am going to Bridgetown just for a short bit, and then I'm going to a graduation later on. I teach kids as well, so I'm going to do that. So there's so much that God has in me that, that I need to get out. So one of the things that I don't want to do is die with the gifts that God has given me. So I try to pour out as much as I can, but whoever would listen. So if you've graced my presence or had the time to spend some time with me, you are going to leave my presence richer for the more.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it was the late Dr. Miles Monroe that says, "Let us die empty."
Yes, he did.
Die empty. Pour out yourself until you are completely empty, so you take nothing to the grave with you.
I love that.
Glenda, thank you. We're going to take in this one, Heal Your Land. Glenda King, thank you so much for dropping by Ignite Change and Morning Ignition Show. We're going to take in this one right now, Heal Your Land.
I love for humanity, it is lost. I love my Jesus, and the words of in the